Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it may be for you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome to the second podcast, actually, of A Breath of Fresh Football. Kyle and I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to us. We would also like to thank our special guest today, TJ. TJ, why don't you give him a shout out?
Hey guys, how's it going?
So, sadly, my friend TJ is a Dolphins fan. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Dolphins today. TJ, why are you a Dolphins fan, first off?
Actually from my dad. So my dad was a big Dan Marino fan, and that was his favorite player growing up watching whenever he was. That's actually what made him a quarterback for his high school team. And he's like, I'm going to follow Dan wherever he goes. And it just happened to be the Dolphins. And I've been stuck in that misery ever since.
This last season wasn't that bad, though.
No, the last season actually was very surprising for me. I would have expected just to pick third, but I wasn't expecting it to be the Texans pick, so that makes me excited.
Well, going with that third pick, we'll come back to that. So TJ, your thoughts on Tua, first off?
So I'm going to be honest, I'm a Tua believer. I think he can be a top 10, top 15 quarterback in the league, but it's going to take time. I don't think he's one of those guys that can just come in and do it right away, which is why I was okay with him sitting out the first season and learning under Fitzmagic or Fitzception, whichever one he decided to show up on that week. And I'm a Tua believer, but if it's one of those, the clock's going to be his team unless we re-sign Fitzpatrick, and it's going to be his team. And if we don't see something within this year or next year within growth, it's going to be time to move on quickly. That's just the nature of the league.
So I watched a little bit of Dolphins this year, and Kyle, put your input on this. I was really getting upset though when they would, every time Tua would screw up, they would just take him out and put Fitzmagic back in. And I think we talked a little bit about that last week, didn't we, Kyle?
When we had John on last week, he agreed with what you were saying, that they felt like he would pull Tua way too quick. And I even felt it a little bit last year when Rosen was there. And I know Rosen isn't the best quarterback, but, young QBs got to go through learning pains. And if you don't let them go through those learning pains, then they're never going to get better. So I feel like Flores has a trigger finger of wanting to jump to the next QB as soon as something goes wrong.
I noticed that a few times this year as well, and it did make me little, I don't want to say nervous about that, but there's got to be, it's one of those you kind of have to, I don't want to say blindly trust them, but there's got to be something that they're having in their mind that they're trying to do there.
And I can agree with that, but also, you got to let the kid learn.
I agree. They need to let him learn.
So our next question, though, TJ, what are your expectations for this draft? You got, is it four or five picks in the first 50 picks?
We have the four picks in the first 50. We got the 3rd, the 18th, the 36th, and the 50th overall pick.
So I know me and you were talking about this a little bit the other day. Number 3, who do you go with?
Had you asked me this yesterday, it would have been Davis out of Alabama all day. But I almost want to say I've talked myself into Penei Sewell as being the draft pick if he's there, which is a big question mark. Because I was going through, I was looking at his stats and watching a bunch of tape on him. The dude let up 1 sack his entire college career.
Wow.
1, which is insane. You don't get that. Now, I know there's the argument of, with Tua being a lefty, it's not his blind side. But you take a look at what an offensive line can do. It opens up everything between the passing game and the running game. And, maybe you go get, when Tua was in college, you prefer Jalen Waddle a little bit more. So maybe you can pick him up at the 18th pick, which is a potential. But for me, unless we're trading back and getting a king's ransom, kind of like what the 49ers did to the Bears a few years ago, then you take that pick and you get Sewell or Davis, or you just riot.
Yeah, that Oregon tackle, he's mean. He's very mean. So,
yeah.
We talked about this a little bit. Let's say first overall pick, Justin Fields goes to the Jaguars. The Jets, they stick with Sam Darnold. If Trevor Lawrence is there, do you take him or not?
I would. Just because I think Lawrence's ceiling is going to be a little bit higher than Tua's. And I love Tua, but don't get me wrong. But I think Trevor Lawrence, there's just something about watching him. There's just something about it that makes me go, yeah, he can do it. Is he going to be the next best prospect since Andrew Luck? I don't think so. I don't see him in that regard, but I could definitely see him being, a solid, I don't want to say like a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen to put massive expectations on him, but he could be the guy that can change the game. And I hope Tua can do that as well, because I firmly believe that. But you got to show it to me first. And, when you go through and you beat Alabama and you do all that stuff with that he did down in Clemson, I mean, he can do it.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but I mean, still, me personally, I'm not a big guy on people that are, they're the next best thing coming into the draft. I think they're busts whenever they do that. I mean, look at recent history. Sam Bradford, Robert Griffin, Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell. So there's really no telling.
Yeah, but let me chime in for a sec. Jamarcus Russell, the biggest problem with him was he just didn't put any work ethic into it. The Raiders gave him a video or whatever it was to watch over the weekend. And he came back and said he watched it, and there was like nothing on the video.
Yeah, he said it was a blitz package, and it was just blank tapes.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, look at your favorite player ever to play the game, Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Dude was probably the best college quarterback we've ever seen.
Yeah, but Tim Tebow, his problem was his throwing motion, and if he would have went into a role like Taysom Hill with the Saints has, I think he could still be in the league. I think he would still be really productive, but his mindset was he always wanted to play QB, even in going back in high school. He transferred high schools just because he wanted to play QB. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I know when you have your heart desired on some, you should go get it, and which he did. And he won, was it 2 national championships, and he was a first-round draft pick and won a playoff game. But, when he went to the Jets and he didn't, go into that role that, Taysom Hill's in, it fell apart after that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
I think to also chime in, Trevor Lawrence is he's a really good guy. Like Tim Tebow, he's very religious. And I've never heard anything bad about Trevor Lawrence. He was always there helping his, the freshman QB, the 5-star QB that came in for Clemson this year. He's DJ. He was there helping him when Lawrence was going through COVID and everything. So I think he's a very knowledgeable QB. He was very good. Him and Justin Fields, when they were in high school at the Elite 11, they competed against each other. And Justin Fields ended up coming out as the number 1 QB at that competition. But, Trevor Lawrence has a national championship and Justin Fields does not. So.
Well, me and TJ were talking about Justin Fields a little bit the other day, or yesterday, wasn't it, TJ? And if you notice on Justin Fields, he always has the first person he looks at as soon as that ball's hiked is the person he's throwing to. He'll read, but he's always he has his player picked before the play even goes.
Yeah, and hopefully, whoever does draft him, hopefully they help him to, better read the whole field instead of, having his mind set on someone. And so I hope he goes to a good coaching staff. I don't know what's going to happen. He could slip a couple picks. Usually there's always a player that jumps up like Daniel Jones or Mitchell Trubisky. So Zach Wilson could be that guy that jumps over Justin Fields in the draft. There's always a QB that jumps up the board. So we'll see where he lands. There's a lot of QB-needed teams this year. You do have the Falcons that could be looking for their next successor after Matt Ryan, and both Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence are from Georgia. So the Falcons sitting at what are they sitting at 4? They could 4, with one of those kids, that could sell a lot of merchandise right there. A kid from Georgia playing for the home state team. So one of I could see one of them if they drop down to 4, where the Falcons pulled the trigger to get Matt Ryan's successor.
So, speaking of the Falcons, there's been a lot of rumors about possibly trading Julio Jones. Well, first, TJ, do you think they'll trade Julio Jones? And if so, why?
Yeah, personally, I don't think they're going to trade Julio Jones. I think that to be quite honest, I think they make too much money off merchandise and just having that star power of Julio Jones being that name there, that they would be afraid to lose that name. And then people, you know how fans are. They can be fickle whenever their favorite player gets traded, and they don't understand the business aspect of it. But that's like, hey, you're my favorite player. Why'd you just get traded? And now I'm gonna go buy merch for that guy's team.
Kyle, what are your thoughts? You think they'll trade Julio? You think they'll keep him?
I'm gonna have to agree with TJ here. I can't see them trading Julio unless they get just a deal that just blows their mind and they have to pull the trigger, because you're just gonna have too much backlash. But at the same time, who knows what's going behind the doors? Julio might want out. I mean, I don't know what's all going on down there. They just got a new coach, Arthur Smith from the OC for the Titans. So, he might come in and be like, I want Julio to be the staple of my offense. He may say he just wants Matt Ryan to be the staple of his offense too. So I don't know what his plans are. It's always with a new coach, you never know the way they're going to run it. I know the way they ran in for the Titans was, a big run first team, but that's because they had Derrick Henry. They had other running backs behind Derrick Henry that could also get some good rushing yards whenever they were put in. So, obviously, Todd Gurley is not that running back anymore. He got released from the Rams at 25. You don't really see a running back that was, as good as
Drafted
him.
10th overall.
Yeah, as good as he was for the Rams before, all the injuries, and get released. And then the season he had this year was not the best. So obviously he needs to run the offense a little bit different, or they need to focus on getting a running back. I don't know what the running back market is this offseason, but, I just don't see Julio being traded.
I don't think it's going to happen, but my personal opinion, I can also see them going in there and like, all right, it's complete rebuild time. We're rebuilding. I think they're going to trade Julio for what they can get. They're going to try maybe trade Matt Ryan. They're going to trade all those players and see what they can get. I mean, Calvin Ridley showed this season that he can be a true number one receiver. And if they got rid of Julio Jones, if I was the Ravens, I would be like, what do you want? I'll give you whatever you want. Because they need a big, brawly receiver. And Julio Jones is that guy.
Yeah, going into the Ravens, I know we were going to talk about the Ravens a little bit later, but that's their biggest need, is they need a number one receiver. Hollywood Brown, he's a good number two, but he hasn't shown that. He's had flashes, but he hasn't stepped his game up to be that number one receiver. I mean, right now you have him, and then you have, the
Willie Snead.
Yeah, Willie Snead. And
Willie Snead and Miles Boykin.
And you have a very, very old Des Bryant, so.
Well, again, me and TJ were talking about this yesterday. Hollywood Brown reminds me of a Cole Beasley. He'd be a great slot guy. I mean, he's 5'6", 165. Sorry, he's 5'9", maybe 165 pounds. I mean, that's not a true number one receiver.
Yeah, exactly. And so the Ravens really need to help Lamar. I know the last two back-to-back seasons of 1,000 rushes or rushing yards for Lamar, but one hit and he may not be able to run anymore. So he needs that receiver where he can start relying on the throwing game a little bit.
We saw that against the Bills. The Bills knocked them pretty good.
Yeah.
First off, can we give a huge shout out to Bills Mafia though for donating? How much was it? Like $100,000?
I think it's been more than that now lately.
I don't know, man. But shout out to Bills Mafia, number one fan base out there.
Yeah, man. Do you see them, how they jump through their tables too?
Yeah, I mean, they're classy. If we were going to lose anyone, I'm glad it was the Bills. I mean, Josh Allen, great dude. I mean, I've never seen someone just level a coach on the sidelines and then help him back up. You know,
Yeah.
he's just a great dude. Well, back to TJ's Dolphins though. So TJ,
Yes.
they have 25.8 million in cap space this year. What do they do with that?
Yeah. I'd like to see them mainly fix on the offensive line. That was, in my opinion, our biggest thing. Like, we gave up 34 sacks this year for a total of 201 yards on sacks. And to me, that's a big deal. But the other big thing is we couldn't really get the rushing game going, and whether that be because of our running backs or not. Our total rushing yards for the season were 1,688.
Goodness.
We didn't have a running back that broke 600 yards, and both Fitzpatrick and Tua were in the top 5 for rushing for our team last year.
Wow.
Well, and we and TJ talked about this yesterday. There's not really many line free agency. There's Brandon Scherf, Joe Thuney. Is it Joe Thuney for the Patriots?
I think so, yeah.
Honestly, you can get Trent Williams, though. He's out there. He's not bad.
Well,
but you're going to have to pay some high dollar for these people.
I mean, with that $23 million, maybe we get more on the defensive end too, because like our offensive line wasn't terrible. We had a rookie, in Jackson. We had Eric Flowers, who, I mean, I don't know, he wasn't terrible, but it's also Eric Flowers. But we've got him at guard. We'll have to re-sign Ted Karras. I believe he's expiring. Jesse Davis is pretty good. Robert Hunt was a pleasant surprise, but we're going to need more depth along that line because after a while you just get exhausted. I'd also like to see us go and get another wide receiver just to kind of help Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki open up the field a little bit, give Tua a little bit more options.
And this free agency has some nice wide receivers, though. Let's point that out. You got Juju, Allen Robinson.
I want to stay far away from Juju as much as
Kenny Golladay, though.
I wouldn't mind getting a Golladay. I wouldn't mind getting a Robinson. I really do want to stay far
even
away.
T.Y. Hilton wouldn't be bad for you.
No, not at all. Because really, we're looking for if it goes the way I think it will. I think Lawrence goes first. I think Sewell goes second. I don't think the Jets give up on Donald. So to me, the next pick is Davis for Miami at 3. So you got Davis and Parker on the outside. You just need that slot guy at that point. And so you can spend some money on that. You kind of shore up more on your offensive line, and then the big thing is like Tua's longest pass was 35 yards. And to me, that's the bigger issue of, our offensive coordinator just left. So we'll get
this is some. So I listened to lots of podcasts, and a point someone was making, I don't know what podcast it was, but Tua during his whole football career, even in high school, at Alabama, and even with the Dolphins right now, he's been with defensive-minded head coaches. So they feel like his coaches have told him, just don't make a mistake, And in college, the thing was, there's a lot more space. The receivers get away from those DBs a lot easier. But at the NFL level, you don't have that space. So Tua's on this mindset of, I don't want to turn the ball over, and he doesn't take shots. And that's what I think is good about Fitzpatrick is he takes those shots, and that's what he's trying to help instill into Tua is, if it's only a 1 second, space, you got to throw it in that space,
Well, and I feel like the big thing was our offensive coordinator that just resigned was a very old school mentality guy. He was also our 5th offensive coordinator in 5 years, which is not a good thing.
Holy cow.
No, sorry. The guy we're going to be getting will be our 5th offensive coordinator in 5 years. It's like being the Hogwarts defensive dark arts teacher. You eventually you're there for a year and then you're gone. But it's going to be, we need someone who's going to open up the playbook for Tua, in my opinion. And whether that be, I know there's been a few talks of like promoting our quarterbacks coach or something. We need someone who's going to just look at Tua and be like, look, man, you've got an arm. You've got your legs. Use it. Become the modern day quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can get behind that. I really think the Dolphins need to focus on their run game. I mean, you had Jordan Howard last year, and
I could actually tell you exactly who all we had.
Yeah, dude. I can't tell you a single Dolphins running back besides Jordan Howard.
Gaskins.
Miles Gaskins was our leading rusher with 584 yards rushing. Behind him was Salvin Ahmed with 319, Matt Breida with 254, and then Fitzpatrick with 151 and Tua with 109.
Goodness.
Yeah, so running back is a big, and like I said, was it a mixture of could we just not get the run game going because we don't have a noticeable running back, or was it the offensive line? I'm willing to bet it's more of the fact that we don't have a running back.
I think the good thing is it's Senior Bowl week, and the Dolphins coaching staff is coaching one of the Senior Bowl teams, and
which is awesome.
Is awesome because not only did Devontae Smith go to the Senior Bowl this week, Mac Jones did, and so did Najee Harris. So the Dolphins coaching staff get to look at him, and right in front of them for a whole week and practice and then eventually the game. So that could be a pick at, one of your picks.
Yeah, 18 is actually where I'm hoping we take a round. I'm hoping we double dip in the first round on offense. And at 18, I've got 5 players I've kind of got circled. And 3 of them are running backs with Najee Harris, the running back out of Clemson, who I'm going to butcher his name, and Tene, and Chuba Hubbard out of Oklahoma State. I'm a huge Chuba Hubbard fan. I know he kind of had this season cut off short with injury, but we need that. I'd love to get us Najee Harris. I know we'll be turning into Alabama, except in Florida, if we keep drafting Alabama prospects. But
look at the Ravens. They've done that for years. I mean, Ozzie Newsome always drafted Alabama, and it worked. C.J. Mosley, Marlon Humphrey. Goodness. Yeah.
And I know taking a running back with a mid-first round pick is risky, but, watching Najee Harris, I'm not saying he's going to be Derrick Henry, but he's got that power game, you can run with him, but he can also catch you out of the backfield too, which is very interesting as a running back. And then, Tene out of Clemson, he's a solid back as well. I truly do believe at 3-18, Miami needs to double dip on offensive weapons, whether one wide receiver, one running back.
Or we were talking about this. You can pick up Mark Ingram. He's now a free agent, which I'm really kind of upset about.
And
he can come in. Mark Ingram's still good. He just, I get it. He didn't do well at the Ravens, but also you got to remember the Ravens run with Lamar. They have J.K. Dobbins, who, in my personal opinion, in the next few years is going to be a top 3 NFL running back. You heard it here, folks. Gus Edwards, who was a free agent, who's a monster. Justice Hill, who's a great receiving back. I mean, the Ravens are a run-first team, and they have all those options.
Yeah. And when you and I talked about it, I said I'd love to get Mark Ingram on this team because he would be that, that 3-down back, and then you can throw it out to, a Myles Gaskin for, throw it out there for a pass play.
And there's just really not many good running backs for agency. Some of the notable ones, Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Lindsay, which he hasn't done much lately, Kenyon Drake, Todd Gurley, Mark Ingram. That's really about it.
Yeah, it's it's going to be rough, especially when some of them are going to be probably re-signed with their teams. So.
Aaron Jones will stay with the Packers. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Absolutely, but our defense overperformed, so I'm not necessarily looking for us to do a whole lot on the defense till we get to the second round. So that's why I'm saying a Najee Harris, and a Tene, a Chuba Hubbard, to maybe pair with a Mark Ingram would be great.
Mark Ingram is a great locker room presence that people need, and he's a great mentor. He'll teach you.
Yeah.
I look at him. He had no issues. He never complained once about sharing carries with Alvin Kamara, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. He never complained. He's a great team player, and he just honestly, I can't wait to see that dude coach one day. I know he's going to go into coaching. He'll be a great coach. So, do you go for your offensive line in free agency though, or do you draft? Like we said, there's not many.
No, and you and I were talking about that yesterday. There's not really a whole lot out there. I think another year of because we just got a new offensive lines coach as well, who was he was already the offensive line coach. He's underneath the main offensive lines coach. Our head offensive lines coach left, so the guy that was doing most of the work with them is now our full-time offensive line coach. So I think another year of gelling, because like I said, we had a rookie starting. We brought in Eric Flowers to play guard. We had a new Ted Karras who was under center for the first time. We just signed. Jesse Davis was pretty much the only guy that was there beforehand. And then Robert Hunt was a nice, pleasant surprise. But you draft him at 36 and 50, and later on down the road, because offensive linemen, as weird as it sounds, unless you're getting like a Penny Sewell, they're a dime in the dozen. It just takes a bit to meld together, you know. As you know, Logan, I'm a huge hockey fan. I kind of attribute offensive linemen to the same way people do defensemen. It takes game reps to get them there, and and it just takes time.
And like we said, I mean, a lot of the fans get mad with offensive line picks because it's not the flashy, pretty boy player. But look at the Cowboys. What was it? 5 drafts in a row they drafted linemen in the first round, and look how dominant that offensive line was for a couple of years.
Well, and you and I talked about it yesterday. Look at how good Quentin Nelson made that Colts offensive line.
Yeah, just one offensive lineman changed so much.
And that's one thing, and that I think Quentin Nelson just changed the mentality of that offensive line. He made it that, and it could be, the coaching there as well. But that's one thing that I've noticed is different about this Miami team is the mentality since Flores has been brought in has changed. The culture has changed around down there, and that's very exciting because, like I remember, I think it was the Cincinnati game when Flores had to be pulled off the field because he was about to go over and fight the entire other sideline. I mean, beforehand, you would never see that down in Miami because it just seemed like they didn't care. But now it looks like you got, Flores is getting those people to run through a wall for him. And to me, that's the more exciting aspect of it all.
Yeah, so last question for Miami. Do you guys think you can win it all, or do you think it's just you're going to have to wait a couple years, get some players, get some picks, draft some? Or do you think you can win it all next year?
I still think I don't think we're going to win next year, as much as I'd love for us to. I still think Tua's going to need another year to develop, which, again, I'm okay with because as long as I see progress, I'm fine with it. Having, 4 rookies potentially come in to be starters, it's going to be hard to win on that. But I think we're probably a few years away before we're starting to challenge the Bills for not just the AFC East, but potentially in the AFC Championship.
I don't know, man. That Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs connection is – I mean, look – all right, so now let's go to the Ravens game. First off, Justin Tucker.
Oof.
Why would you do that? Possibly, what, top 3 kicker of all time? Misses 2 field goals, and he never misses. The dude never misses.
I blame the announcers, Jinx, entirely.
That game. So we'll just go into that game. Let's go in the Ravens. The Bills game. I mean, like I said, if we lost anyone, I'm happy it's the Bills. I like the Bills. Like I said, Josh Allen's a great dude. I love Devin Singletary. Stephon Diggs is a nice guy. I mean, and that defense is just. That defense is young and quick. That offense is a powerhouse. The big reason we didn't win is we don't have a number 1 receiver. We can't throw it to Mark Andrews every time. We just can't. They were stopping our run. Josh Allen was picking our defense apart. It was hard to watch, but at the same time I was pretty happy. I mean, I like the Bills. I always root for the underdogs. So yeah, if you guys are open up to any Ravens questions, you can go ahead and just start asking.
Well, I mean, who do you hope the Ravens take in the draft then for this year?
So I was a big Justin Ross guy until he went back to Clemson. I was really sad about that. But like we talked about, we need an offensive lineman. Creed Humphrey would be the ideal guy for me. We need a center. Our tackles are great. We got Orlando Brown Jr., Ronnie Stanley. Our guards need work. We need someone to replace Marshall Yanda, which I know you can't just replace Marshall Yanda. But we got Tyree Phillips, Bradley Bozeman, and Ben Powers. And they're okay, but they ain't no Marshall Yanda. Our center, Matt Sakura or something like that, he's terrible. That was the big – if you guys watched the Bill games, if you saw those snaps, they were awful. I say in the first round, you go offensive line. If Creed Humphrey's there, go for him. If not, get Wyatt Davis would not be another bad one. I don't think he'll be there, but Deontay Brown wouldn't be bad. I'm a big Creed Humphrey guy. I think he's going to be wonderful. First round O-line, and then second round, I say go edge. I mean, we're probably going to lose Matthew Judon, and I always butcher his name, but the dude from the Vikings we got.
Yannick Ngakoue.
Thank you. I mean, they're both free agents. Judon, I don't know if we can afford. Because Lamar's getting re-signed probably. He's going to want a big contract. He's not going to want a humongous contract. He's going to want a big contract. Baltimore has $20 million in cap. I don't know if that's counting Mark Ingram, the Mark Ingram one or not. I say you go out and hand Allen Robinson a lot of money. Good receiver. We need a good guy like him. And then that safety position. Deshaun Thomas. I think it's Deshaun Thomas. No, it's not. Deshaun Elliott. He's not bad. He's the Texas guy. He's good. Chuck Clark's good, but we don't have a true number one safety. Our cornerbacks, we have the best cornerback duo in the league. We're best cornerback duo in the league. I know your Dolphins you think are the best. No. Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, best cornerback duo in the league.
I'm just going to look at the Dolphin stats here. I'll let you keep talking while we
No. A pure talent, it's Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey. But, I mean, our D-line's good. We got Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe, who I think we were just re-signed, Brandon Williams. We got two young middle linebackers that are doing good. We need edge, but our big thing is O-line. And if you've seen that all year, Lamar just doesn't have time to throw. And I honestly think we should go out in free agency to get a receiver. We got good Kenny Golladay. I'd be fine with. Allen Robinson. Heck, Larry Fitzgerald's a free agent. Kyle, I'll take Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry's the point into his life where if he doesn't play or if he doesn't go back to the Cardinals, it's because he's retiring. If he goes anywhere, it's to Minnesota because that's where I don't know if that's where I think that's where he's from. So if he goes anywhere other than the Cardinals, it would be Minnesota. But he did in November. He sold his house down in Arizona, so there is belief that he is probably retiring. So,
I mean, great career, but I seriously wouldn't. I mean, I want Willie Snead back. Willie Snead's a good receiver. I'll take Willie Snead. You put Willie Snead as your second. You put Hollywood Brown in your slot. Miles Boykin's not bad. Devin Dunry, I think that's his last name. He's good. They didn't give him enough reps. We draft receivers, but we don't give him enough reps. That's the problem. But you drafted Marquise Brown, okay? Like we said, 5'6", 5'9", however tall he is, 165 pounds. When there was DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, like all those people, and you draft that guy, yeah, everyone hyped him up because he was cousins with Antonio Brown. Heck, I'd be fine if they brought Antonio Brown in at this point. So to answer your question, I want Creed Humphrey. First round for sure. Eric DeCosta is a great GM, though. I'm not going to question him at all, whoever he picks. I mean, he got Calais Campbell and Marcus Peters for a fifth-round pick. I mean, the dude's a wizard. He got rid of Earl Thomas without a problem. Like that, and no one else has picked Earl Thomas up because they're like, wow, maybe they're onto something. So whoever Eric DeCosta picks, I'm fine with, but I would love an O-lineman. If we can get a wide receiver in free agency, our run game's good. Honestly, we need to work on O-line, wide receiver, and our edges. Matthew Judon's going to walk, which I'm kind of okay with. I'm not a big Matthew Judon guy. He has flashes. He had one good year. Last year he wasn't terrible. But Tyrus Bowser's moving up there, too. He'd be a good guy to throw in there. So the Ravens will work on their defense. The Ravens always been known to have a good defense. So I'm not too upset if they let guys go. Their defense will always be good.
I just want to say, looking at the Ravens stats is making my Dolphins stats look even more depressing because you've been shitting on Marquise Brown most of this entire episode, but he still outcaught Miami's top two people.
But he's kind of like Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, he does okay in the regular season, but in playoffs he's good. I mean, he had 164 yards and a touchdown maybe, but I'm not a big fan of small receivers, especially on the outside. On the slot, let's do it all day.
I will also say,
but
your quarterback
I get it though.
Almost outrushed my entire team. Lamar Jackson had 1,000 rushing yards. Oh.
Yeah, first QB back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. But, I mean, first off, I love Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker's one of my all-time favorite Ravens players. Such a down-to-earth, great dude. And he let me down. I mean,
Justin Tucker.
I really don't know how to talk about it.
He was just sipping that Cody Parkey tea.
First off, don't ever compare Justin Tucker to Cody Parkey, okay? That's a fight on site. But also, that takes me to my other question. Can Lamar win big games? He beat the Titans, yeah. But that defense pretty much beat those Titans.
Holding.
I know we got a concussion, but that Bills team is just so good. They were out-coached that game. People are saying it's our offensive coordinator. People are saying it's Lamar, our team. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I don't know what my thoughts are. Lamar, he is an exciting player. But like you said, the last 3 years, in the playoffs, he has 1 playoff win and 3 losses. And, honestly, his throwing stats has not been the best in those games. So I really hope that I know he did in the past, but I hope he keeps focusing on, getting better as a thrower in the offseason. Because I know he wants to prove people wrong. I mean, he's a Heisman winner. He almost
MVP winner.
He won MVP. He almost dropped out of the first round, and he was ready to show people why it was a bad idea that they passed on him. So he's got a lot of chips on his shoulder. He wants to be the best player he can be, and I just really hope he continues to focus on his throwing.
And, the thing is, though, is think of his first year, second, and third year. Who has he really had to throw to?
Well,
Mark Andrews. I mean, don't get me wrong. Mark Andrews is, besides Marlon Humphrey and Justin Tucker, Mark Andrews is probably one of my favorite players on the Ravens right now. Such a down-to-earth, nice – I mean, and that's the big thing a lot of those guys are. They're all just so down-to-earth and so nice. And – That's why I'm proud to be a Ravens fan. They're just all so good people.
How about we jump in? Are you finishing up the?
Yeah, just one more thing. Shout out to you, Mark Ingram, Big Trust.
All right, let's jump into the next game. So, what were you guys' thoughts on the Packers-Rams game? Was it expected?
Shout out to Jared Goff, though, for playing with a broken hand.
Yeah.
Great. So pretty underrated. I mean, he's not great, but he's good. He's better than a lot of people give credit.
Let me interject for a second. I wouldn't say he's underrated. He's an average QB. I mean, in that draft class, he probably is the best QB.
Not going to win the game. Not going to win the game.
But he's, in that draft class, looking back at it, he's not the best player in that draft class. And it just happened that the Rams really needed a QB. So, of course, Jared Goff was the best QB in that class. And that's why he went first overall.
No Carson Wentz, bro.
Jared Goff, he's an average QB. He's kind of like Joe Flacco. He made his run to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, he lost to the Patriots dynasty. But I don't think he's ever going to take that next step.
But also, who does that? The offense has lost a lot of people.
They still have Cooper Kupp. They still have Woods. I mean, their running backs did well. They're not really. I mean, Sean McVay is a genius. So whoever they put in that system is going to do good.
Sean McVay is a very I love Sean McVay so much. He's such a good guy, and he's a good coach. But that defense isn't what it used to be. Yeah, they have Jalen Ramsey, which, by the way, Jalen Ramsey is so overrated. He's not. People are saying he's the best cornerback. No,
he shuts down DeAndre Hopkins though.
Yeah, but Jareer Alexander, man, that dude's a monster too. And I'm a Ravens fan, so I mean, I'm putting him. He's not better than Marlon Humphrey because they're two different kind of cornerbacks. Marlon Humphrey's good at getting the tackle, getting the ball. Jareer Alexander's good covering wise.
Yeah, Jair's a stud. I've got a lot of friends that are Packers fans. Just watching him play has just been ridiculous.
Well, and the other issue, besides Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, who's close to that Rodgers Devontae Adams connection going on?
Yeah,
that is big. Yeah, I didn't watch the game, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Devontae Adams just obliterated Jalen Ramsey, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he exposed Ramsey for the fact that Ramsey can only play one side of the field, which is not good. Like, I'm looking at his stats here real quick. During the season, he had 1 interception and 9 passes deflected.
And he's an All-Pro. He was an All-Pro somehow.
His previous years in Jacksonville is where he built his legacy, but he also had another guy to cover another side of the field.
Exactly.
I'm not saying he's not a top 5 cornerback, but is he the best? I'd argue no.
No. All right, so let's go to the Saints-Bucks game.
A lot of people always say it's hard to beat a team 3 times, and we saw that on Sunday night. The Bucks, I think I said last week, I think we both predicted the Bucks to win because they were the hot team going into the playoffs. And, you can never bet against Tom Brady, especially in the playoffs. And he showed it, It's unfortunate. It sounds like Drew Brees is retiring, and, it sucks to see him go out like that because he's been such a staple to that, New Orleans. He rebuilt that city after Katrina and, brought him a Super Bowl and everything.
He loves that city.
He's done so much for that city, and it sucks to see him go out like that. But, like his wife, I sent that tweet to you on Twitter. But, he played through a torn rotator cuff, a torn, how do you say that? Fascia, 11 broken ribs, and a collapsed lung. That's amazing that he even made it through the
torn
season.
rotator cuff, a torn fascia in his foot, and he had a collapsed lung.
That's crazy.
I hate to see Brees go, man.
He's one of those guys that never got the fair shake. New Orleans really wasted a lot of his career besides that one Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they always had a good team around them. They just in the postseason they never produced. Like they lost to the Vikings twice. You can't say anything about this because this is Tom Brady in the playoffs, dude. You literally could have a team of super NFL players and Tom Brady would still beat them. Postseason.
Well, and the big thing was Drew Brees had 3 interceptions that game too. That's not good.
Yeah. Michael Thomas didn't produce for them all. He had 0 catches for
0 yards.
Yeah, no. The funny.
And I think he was.
The funny part about that is his Twitter handle is at can't guard Mike, but everyone was guarding him, and he had no catches.
Michael Thomas. I'm not a big Michael Thomas guy.
I don't know what teammate it was, but he is a #slant boy.
So what about the Chiefs Browns?
Poor Patrick Mahomes getting that concussion.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought the Browns were going to take it for a minute. I really. But supposedly Mahomes is full participated in practice today, so that's going to be a good game. That's going to be a high scoring
Chiefs fans
game.
better hope he plays.
Yeah. But hey, anything is possible.
Hey, I mean, I got to watch Chad Henne when he was quarterback down in Miami for a while.
Hey, the third string for the Chiefs is Matt Moore, too.
Hey, yeah, I mean, it's just Miami
The
Central. I mean, I remember watching Chad Lemon growing up. So when the best quarterback besides Tua and Fitzpatrick has been Ryan Tannehill, and then before that, maybe Chad Pennington or Matt Moore.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a good playoff so far.
Let's go into some other news. So we talked about Drew Brees retiring. Who do you think's the next QB? Is it Taysom Hill time or is it Winston time down in New Orleans?
My personal opinion, I see them doing like a split thing. I see them. Jameis Winston's going to be more of the passer, but I think Taysom Hill is going to be in there, throw some passes, run. I think they're going to split it, or they could surprise everyone and just draft somebody.
I think Sean Payton really likes Taysom Hill. Obviously, he let him start when Brees got hurt this year, but it was so nice to see Winston throw a TD against the Bucs, and him being that more pocket passer QB. Like Sean Payton said, he wants to bring Winston back. He wants him to compete with Taysom Hill because he likes having both type of QBs.
Yeah, well, the NFL is now that kind of league. I mean, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. When those guys when they get out of the pocket, it's dangerous.
You even got Aaron Rodgers is a really smart runner, and I think Trevor Lawrence will be a really smart runner like Rodgers.
Tua.
Yeah,
Tua's
Tua, Watson. Trubisky can run. That's just the way it is. It's becoming like that kind of league. Patrick Mahomes can run.
I forgot to ask TJ something. TJ, as a Dolphins fan, do they trade for
if you can
Watson?
get Deshaun Watson, you go get Deshaun Watson. As much as a Tua fan as I am, I'm not dumb to realize that the ceiling and the hope for Tua is to become Deshaun Watson, and that's a long shot to become. So if you can get a Deshaun Watson, you go grab Deshaun Watson. As much as I love Tua,
but how much do you?
Well,
give
I mean, to
for
me, I think you give. I would ideally you give Tua, you give the third overall pick, potentially maybe the 18th or the 36th. Pretty much you give Tua and the Texans draft picks back for Deshaun Watson and maybe throw in a little bit of stuff here and there. And I hope that's enough, but I still don't think the Texans trade him. I don't think. I know everyone says he's done, but I just don't see it.
I don't think Watson has technically requested a trade yet. So I think what the Texans have done this offseason, they've butchered it. They fired Bill O'Brien. They were the first team to fire their coach this season. I think they fired him 4 games into the season?
Yeah.
And they're the last team to not have a coach. How are you the first team to fire a coach where you have a step in front of everyone, where you could start looking for coaches and a GM or whatever, and yet they don't even have a coach? And no one is even rumored to
when is the
win
Texans
that job.
front off?
I think it's because
when has the Texans front office ever been good?
That's why. Who was the receiver that was telling Watson to? Andre Johnson.
Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
They wasted his career, and he was telling Watson to stick up for what why he's upset and stuff like that, because the Texans are just a mess of a organization. Why would you give your head coach the GM job and then let him trade the number 1 receiver in the NFL for a running back?
And like a 4th round pick, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a second.
No, the second.
But still.
But then you also give us your first and second last year, I believe, and your first and second from this year for Laramie Tunsil. I mean, I'm sure they weren't expected to be that bad.
Larry Tunsil hasn't been that awful.
Great player. And I don't think they were expecting to be this bad. But you don't sacrifice, in my opinion, 2 years of your first 2 picks for that type of player.
Yeah, you could have honestly. You possibly could have gotten your not your quarterback, your receiver of the
You
future
could have
right
gotten
there.
Penny
Third
Sewell, who
overall
is
pick.
going to be better than Larry Tunsil.
Oh my God, Penny Sewell! Watching that dude's highlights is just so
I still
great.
think the Texans coaching job goes to Eric Bieniemy of the Chiefs offensive coordinator, or even the Bills offensive coordinator.
I think if they give the job to Eric, it's only to keep this Deshaun in Houston. And
you need to keep
I do think he's Alex Smith even came out today and said he can't believe that Eric doesn't have a job yet, and Andy Reid is such a big believer in him, and Patrick Mahomes has told Watson that he's a great coach, but it's really getting to me, 2 off-season cycles. And even this year, he's interviewed for every single job. And it's looking like, unless he gets the Texans job, it's going to be a second cycle of not getting a head coaching job, which, I do think he's a future head coach. But it is kind of, he's interviewed for every team, and he still hasn't won one of the jobs. And he's under Andy Reid's coaching tree, and he has Patrick Mahomes. It's starting to make me wonder if he's just a bad interviewer or what.
I think he's just not a good interviewer at all.
The NFL likes to chase trends. They're still trying to find that Sean McVay, and if you've had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, we'll bring you in. I think Robert Saleh this offseason is the only one who hasn't had any interaction with Sean McVay. I know. I think Smith was with him for a bit. But he also learned under LaFleur, who learned under, McVay, and they're just chasing trends, and I think Eric is going to go on and surprise a lot of people.
I think the biggest worry for teams is Andy Reid's the play caller down in Kansas City. And Doug Peterson was pretty good, won the Eagles a Super Bowl, but we're looking at Matt Nagy in Chicago, and that's been an up and down circus, up there. So I think that is scaring teams off a little bit, even though I do think he is going to be a good future coach.
Oh, I was
go ahead, TJ.
Just going to pretty much be like, yeah, I agree. I think Eric Bieniemy is going to be a great future coach, and I still think that he's the guy that's going to land the Texans job, because you haven't heard much chatter about any interviews or anything, and whether that be because people aren't wanting to go to Houston, or whether they're like, look, we got our guy, he's just currently playing and scheduling, and maybe Eric is just like, look, I don't want to do too much more until we figure out where we're going to be going as a team, whether that end this Sunday or whether it end in 2 Sundays from now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into some other QB retiring news. Phillip Rivers retired. So, he had a great career, mainly with the San Diego / Los Angeles Chargers. And his 1 year in for the Colts, he did lead them to the Super Bowl. Or not the Super Bowl, the playoffs. But what's the next plan for the Colts? They do have Jacob Brissett. But we saw last year, he's not really the answer there. So do they sign or trade or draft a QB? What are your guys' thoughts?
I'll let you go first on this.
I was really torn on what I thought they were going to do. And it depends. I was talking to one of my Colts friends, and he was talking about how he hopes that Dallas goes to draft a quarterback so they can take Dak Prescott. And I thought that made a lot of sense to me.
I think that would be good, but I don't think Dallas will do it, because Kellen Moore has really made that offense better for Dak, and they just extended Kellen Moore. So I think the last thing they'll do is draft a QB, because they're going to franchise tag Dak Prescott. So I think They at least have him for another year. So if anything, they'll wait a year to draft another QB, depending how Dak comes back from his injury. And, I think they'll re-sign Andy Dalton to be the backup. And then I don't know what they'll do at third string. Maybe they'll sign another veteran, bring him in just in case Dak isn't ready to go. But I don't know. Before the offseason, I would have said Carson Wentz was probably the QB that we go after. But after the Eagles fired Doug Peterson, I think that's a clear sign that they're keeping and believing in Wentz. So I think Colts, Matt Stafford may be available. Matt Ryan could be available. I mean, Cam Newton's going to be available, but he doesn't really fit that system. I don't know who else is on the free agent market for QBs.
Really nobody.
Kirk Cousins, I think, might be available.
I guarantee
unless
you.
He's got an option.
I think he signed a few more years with the Vikes, didn't he?
Oh, he might have.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
If you're the Colts and Phillip Rivers retired, first off, Phillip Rivers' career stats: 63,000 yards, 421 touchdowns, 64.9 completion percentage. Good career. Their first call when he said he was retiring, Andrew Luck. They totally had to call Andrew Luck and be like, "Hey, you want to come back?"
Oof, yeah. I don't know if he will, man. The Colts just wasted that man, and they beat him down, and just you saw him broken in his press conference when he retired. He just had no more joy, no more light in his life, and I'm not sure if you guys ever watch Urinating Tree, but yeah, they needed to save Andrew Luck from the Colts, and retiring was the only way he could save himself.
Honestly, after what the Colts fans did to Andrew Luck, I know it was, not the ideal situation, retiring in the middle of a preseason game or before a preseason game started. But, them booing him off the field, that's got to hurt, Andrew Luck, like you said, he went through so much for them, all those injuries, all that time rehabbing, trying to get back on the field, and they just boot him off the field. I think he's probably enjoying his time away from the game. I don't know what he's into, but I'm sure he seems like the kind of guy that's into hunting, so I'm sure he's living his life.
Dude, I bet you his body feels amazing now. But I honestly see the Colts. I see them just sticking with Jacoby Brissett, seeing how that goes for a year. Maybe draft one next year. Or, I can see them trading for someone. Matthew Stafford, maybe Matt Ryan.
Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo.
Maybe they go for Deshaun Watson.
Maybe.
No, I think Jimmy stayed with the 49ers for a while. I really do. But maybe you don't know. The NFL is one of those. It seems like every year in free agency, it's always a more wow. Like, I've never seen anything like this. And then next year, it's more crazy. I mean, I never would have guessed in 100 years that DeAndre Hopkins would have been traded for a second-round pick and David Johnson. It just gets crazy. Minkah Fitzpatrick getting traded. Was it 2 years ago? Marcus Peters getting traded for a fifth round. Calais Campbell getting traded for a fifth round. I mean, it just gets crazier and crazier. I mean, remember when the Colts cut Peyton Manning? No one ever expected that.
Yeah.
Or Tom Brady going to the Bucs. No one if you would have told me 3 years ago that Tom Brady was not going to play for the Patriots, I would have called you a liar. Back in other quarterback news, though. How about Pittsburgh taking Dwayne Haskins?
I really hope Haskins learns from his experience in Washington. And I do think – I don't know if he'll ever be a starting QB. Coming out of the draft or before the draft, a lot of people ignored it, but Urban Meyer, now the coach of the Jaguars, he said that Haskins wasn't ready. I listened somewhere or read somewhere that he even said that he had to like dumb down the offense for Haskins. So just hearing that stuff, I do want to give people another chance, and I hope he learns from his experience. And I do think, possibly if this Big Ben comes back, that's a year he can learn from Big Ben, and I do like to see what he could do in that Steelers uniform. So
Yeah. Mason Rudolph is not the
no,
answer for that
I
team in
don't
the
think
future.
Mason's that good of a
No way.
QB, but I think it's gonna be good backup
Yeah,
competition.
and then
Haskins and
Hodges.
Mason, that's good competition for that backup job.
Yeah. So let's talk about our predictions for next week. Who do you guys think between the
if Patrick
Bills and the
Mahomes
Chiefs?
plays, I'm
TJ?
giving it to Kansas City. But if not, it's gonna be a Buffalo blowout. But I guess just to be interesting, and just because I know a few Bills people, I'm gonna go Bills.
I'm gonna be interesting here and say, I think Patrick Mahomes plays, but like we've seen with Kyler Murray in the last couple weeks, Lamar got hurt. John Wolford got hurt. I think Patrick Mahomes gets hurt again, and the Bills, like you said, I think the Bills run away with this game.
I think the Bills got it. I think now I'm skeptical. This is a big hot take right here. I think this injury might mess Pat Mahomes like permanently. I don't think he'll come back the same. You never know. Concussions are big. I think they're going to push him quick. They're going to be like, hey, we need you for this. And he's going to come back early, and he's going to be hurt again. But even I think, honestly, with a healthy Pat Mahomes, I think the Bills still got it. They're the powerhouse this year. I mean, they can do so much.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw against a great Ravens defense just how good they can, and how the Ravens offense, how good they can stop that. They learned from their mistakes against the Colts and the wild card, and they worked on it. So I got.
All right, how about Packers Bucks?
I'm rooting for the Packers
TJ, I'll
on this
let you
one.
Go first on
Tom
this
Brady
one.
caused me way too much trauma over the years, and so I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers. And I just think the Packers. I know the Packers lost the Bucks earlier in the year, but I think they've learned from that, and I think I remember watching that. Aaron Rodgers was not playing his best game that day, and I think he's going to come out and he's going to have a chip on his shoulder like he's had most of the year.
I will build off of what TJ said, and he does have a chip on his shoulder after the Packers did draft a QB in the first round. And, Tom Brady's had his time. He's won his Super Bowls, 6 Super Bowls. And Rodgers only has one. And I think Rodgers wants to get that second Super Bowl. And I do think they are in Green Bay. And, Tom Brady left New England because he wanted to get away from the cold. He went down to Tampa. He wanted to be in that warm weather, relaxing on the beach. And now he's got to go up to Green Bay, this weekend. He wants to get away from the coldness. And I think the Packers do come out and win this game. And we're going to have a Packers-Bills Super Bowl.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Packers too. Like you guys said, Aaron Rodgers has something to prove. That team has 4 All Pros this year. I think it's just all on their offense too. I think. No, he was not. Let me see. They got Aaron Rodgers,
Bakhtiari,
David Bakhtiari. Is that how you say his last name? Thank you. Devontae Adams and Corey Linsley, which he is their tight end, isn't he? No. Center. So, but anyway, their tight end's really good. They need to get a true number 2 receiver. But even without having like a true number 2 receiver, Aaron Rodgers is still doing good. And like Kyle said, Tom Brady does not like playing in the cold. Aaron Rodgers, I feel like, plays better in the cold weather. So I have to agree with you guys. It's going to be a Packers-Bills Super Bowl. I hope so. Because, honestly, I couldn't be mad if the Bills or the Packers won. Because I love Aaron Rodgers and I love the Bills. I mean, yeah, they beat the Ravens, but, I mean, just, again, how classy are they? I don't like repeat Super Bowls. I mean, I like underdogs to win. I like seeing other people, seeing the Patriots go to the Super Bowl every year was not fun because you always knew they were going to win. And it's kind of like watching the same TV show over and over and over. It's the same thing. So I'm going Packers.
I do. Building off of what you said, it is not fun seeing the same team and same QB every year, but it just shows you how great they are. And, if Patrick Mahomes does, win and make it to his second straight Super Bowl, we got to realize that we're watching greatness as it happens, I mean, we did watch most of Tom Brady's career, but he did start a little bit when we were younger. And, Patrick Mahomes may be the next best, the best QB we ever get to see in our lives. Yeah.
But the things in the future is it's going to be, you're going to have, because like Tom Brady was dominant for so long, but you're going to see the Chiefs dominate, the Bills dominate for several years, the Ravens. You're going to see probably the Browns coming down, dominate. The Dolphins are going to eventually get up there. The Cardinals just need to work on their defense a little more. They'll be up there. So, I mean, yeah, Pat Mahomes, but he's going to have a lot of competition through the years. Because, I mean, some of these teams are literally just one key opponent just from getting it all.
And something crazy to think about is we only got 3 more games this year.
Yeah. It's a virtual.
Goodness. And they're not doing the Pro Bowl this year, are they? They're doing like a virtual reality flip over. So no one's going to watch that. Yeah, no, it's been a wild season. It's been a pretty good one, though.
All right. Well, I think that is all we have for today. So if you listened all the way through, we thank you for your time, and we will. I'll probably be another episode up sometime in the next couple of days. I'm gonna sit down and talk to my friend George. He's a big Titans fan. I want to get his thoughts on the season and everything. So that be on the lookout for that. But.
And we're also going to do another one soon with a Steelers fan.
Yeah, we'll get Seth's thoughts on Big Ben, Juju, James Conner, and what the plans are for the Steelers going forward. And maybe we may get his thoughts on the Dwayne Haskins signing too.
Thank you.
Yeah, but thank
you for taking your time
for
to
me. Stayed up catching up on your guys' pod. So I really appreciate you guys having me on there.
You guys will see TJ a lot more.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch you guys grow and be on every once in a while and hopefully brag about my Dolphins. Oh, please do. I will send you
when they pick up Deshaun Watson, we will definitely have you back on.
All over the place.
All right, well.